I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Kubal. Here's a look at your Local 5 weather impact forecast. Rolling into Friday, clouds look to prove stubborn, ultimately limiting the temperatures. But that mild air is out there, and it's incoming. Early next week, we'll feel that difference. There's also a newcomer to the forecast. Snowflakes, perhaps some drizzle that we're going to be eyeing. It's not so much for Thursday evening. We're going to eye for Friday evening for that potential. Quiet until then. Temperatures back into the 20s in most locations, but clouds thickening up will halt just how far those temperatures are able to drop. A mostly cloudy sky as we roll into Friday. Notice some returns showing up. This is going to be a fight with some dry air over central Iowa. Now, there are some uncertainties to whether or not we can get this to materialize at the surface, tracking that moisture component throughout the atmosphere as we look throughout. And there's also potential that we lose the ice in the clouds, and what that usually ends up meaning is we start to look at some of freezing drizzle begin to form. With those temperatures below the freezing point. We'll watch for that. All in all, I don't like the scenario to be bringing us big time amounts. With that fight with the dry air, I think we're ultimately going to be limited. But Friday night after dark through about 2 a.m., we'll be watching for that over southwestern Iowa. So what are the impacts here? Not really much, but we all know it doesn't take much to make things slippery, especially if that freezing drizzle does materialize. If it does materialize, we're talking about only minor amounts of snow, just a spotty area with a glaze of ice. So you see the potential here. It's not much. A dusting of snow over western and southwestern Iowa would be the upper end extent of it. And there again, some question marks to whether or not this can actually materialize. Some differences in the data. Can we get that atmosphere to saturate? I'll be tracking that for you. 24 degrees tonight is the call with our overnight low, and then 30 for Friday. There's going to be a lot of gray in the sky and snowflakes pushing in after dark. Temperatures a mix of 20s to about 30 degrees across central Iowa. All right, let's go into the extended forecast here as we look forward through the end of the weekend. Temperatures starting to pop. I think we get back in the 40s on Sunday, and then early next week, ridge of high pressure is going to be building in across the middle of the country. I think 50 degrees either side of that mark is going to be possible, especially Monday, Tuesday, and even extending into Wednesday. There's that big ridge, but it's going to start to break down by the end of the week. It becomes a little bit more flat, and eventually there's going to be a bigger trough of low pressure that digs in the western reaches of the U.S. And usually when this happens, we start to eye a storm system swinging up and through. So next weekend, we'll be watching for that. We have introduced some rain and some snow chances in the works to account for that. A slow burn on those temperatures, slowly sinking back downwards as that trough does move in. No huge hard-hitting cold front in that duration. Also fairly quiet here through this weekend and into early next week. I think we'll get the most sunshine on Tuesday and Wednesday, helping to keep those temperatures elevated.